The left doesn't believe in individuals. Instead, they believe that individual rights get in the way of creating their collectivist utopia.
The battle over the First Amendment and your right as an American citizen to free speech has been making headlines recently. Some on the left believe political speech they disagree with is not protected by the Constitution and that they have the right to shut it down. At the University of Wisconsin-Madison, protesters have attempted to bust up officially sanctioned events just because they don't like the invited speakers.
Safety! 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 Safety!
That's why in October, the Board of Regents stepped in. They approved disciplinary actions for students who tried to deny others from exercising their freedom of speech.
If they don't buy into that, if they think neither violence or that prevention of somebody's expression rights is a part of it, they should be corrected. I hope they learn. If they don't learn, they don't belong. It's an indication they have self-selected themselves out of the university community, and that's quite all right. And I'm confident the board will enforce that and will approve that.
Jose Delgado is one of the regents who voted in favor of those punishments. His clarity of logic on this issue comes from a lifetime of reflection and personal experience. Delgado was a boy in Cuba when the communists violently took over.
In Cuba, the government arranged for mobs to demonstrate outside of people's homes when they were not popular, okay? And they would scream, paredón, which means to the wall, okay? They didn't mean that they all went to the wall. It meant that the chances were pretty good, but it was extremely inhibiting. So I remember seeing that on TV and realizing that this was a way to keep them from talking.
Today, the left uses mob tactics for the same reasons.
And a mob is a way in which people can hide themselves and lose themselves and do things that individually they would never do. A mob is an awful thing. So it takes away the individual activity, okay? Which is why the facilitators of a mob promote the mob, so that people can do things they wouldn't do by themselves.
Education is a right, not just for the rich and white.
And where there's a leftist mob, there will always be slogans.
I don't like slogans. Slogans to me are not a very good way to communicate. It's a good way to numb the mind.
Who's got the power? We got the power. What kind of power? Student power.
To try to threaten those to whom the slogans are directed.
Education is a right.
Fight, 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 fight.
Education is a right.
Fight, 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 fight.
It is certainly not a very intelligent way of communicating, if any at all.
If she would have had her concealed carry, I guarantee she would have been right. This is what democracy looks like.
Delgado knows what these groups are trying to accomplish, and he sees right through them.
So if we get enough people there chanting or screaming, it gives the impression of a public, swell of opinion. 500 people is not an opinion. We have 44,000 people in the University of Wisconsin in Madison, 180 to 180,000 in the whole school system. So 500 people are not going to make a decision assuming that that's what you can get, and that's a lot.
Delgado insists it's vital to protect these freedoms, even if he doesn't think these radical elements will ever get much traction here.
I have great hopes in America, so I will not say that the situation we have here in any way has the level of threat that it had in Cuba. In Cuba, the government, all of the means of authority and power were in the hands of this agency of governments that in fact were committed, most apparently, to restricting all human freedoms. Now that we're nowhere near there.
And Delgado says it's the university's job to make sure we never start heading in that direction at all.
We are protecting the speech rights of all of our students, and also the listening rights. You don't have the obligation to listen, but you cannot prevent other students from listening. Because let's face it, this is their education also. I have to protect that. And my impression is that we have done it. This is what we have done. And the confusion is cleared if people were to just sit down and listen to it. You say, wait a minute. We, in fact, are protecting the First Amendment rights of all of our students and professors, actually, and of the public, too.
Delgado knows not everyone agrees with his thoughts on freedom of speech, and that's fine. But they don't have the right to silence him or anyone else with whom they disagree. For the McIver Institute, I'm Bill Osmulski.